Hey, what's up guys, this is Marc Brunet with QBrush.com, and today I have for you a review of the Wacom CINTIQ 27 QHD Touch version. So this is the new flagship model from Wacom. I've been playing with this for about a week now, so I think I'm in a pretty good position to actually talk about it. I've discovered a bunch of stuff that I'm sure you guys will be interested to hear about. And so how we're going to do this, first I'm going to be talking about more of the specifications and technical bits, and the second part I'm going to go back to actually live video, and we're going to be looking at this thing and how it performs in real life. So let's get to it. Okay, so this is going to be pretty quick. We're just going to look at the two top of the line CINTIQs, I guess. So the last generation and current generation. So on the left we have the CINTIQ 27 QHD Touch, and on the right we have the older model of the 24 HD Touch. So quick things that we want to look at here. Most of this is similar. So there's, a lot of the different specifications are very similar between the two. The ones that are different that we want to take a look at are the brightness and contrast ratio and aspect ratio, and some of the sizes, and basically that's that. So everything else, like the pressure levels, all the same. Pens, both are the same. The quality, the colors, all similar, but the big differences basically are the sizes. So obviously this one is 27 inches in diagonal, as opposed to the other one that was 24.1. But the actual frame, so the frame of the footprint of the tablet, the CINTIQ, is actually similar, I think. So if we look at the size here, yeah, so as you can see, 770 centimeters, and we have pretty much the same thing on the other one. So they're both the same size, at least in width, but this one has a bigger screen, basically, so less borders. And on the weight size, okay, so the new one is 20 pounds. The stand with the tablet is 55. So that's probably like something like 35 pounds for the stand alone. So if we look at the older one, it would mean that the tablet itself is a little bit under 30 pounds. So we have almost like a 10-pound difference between the two different tablets, the two different monitors themselves without the stand. So that's pretty significant. But yeah, so other than that, we have the other big thing, which is the aspect ratio. That's different. So this is a much wider display than the previous one that had a ratio of 16:10. This one is 16:9 instead. So it just means that it's wider. So you can see the difference here. As you can see. So this is the new one, 16:9, and the older one was the one below. Next, we have the contrast ratio. So 970 to 1, and the other one was a little bit lower, but fairly comparable. Brightness a little bit higher here also. Response rate slightly better. So everything is just a little bit better, but not by much. The color gamut is the same on both, and we have also the Ddd Resolution. That is the other big thing on this one. So with the display port, you can go up to the QHD resolution, which is 2560 by 1440 resolution. If you have only HDMI, so if your video card only supports HDMI, then you probably won't be able to reach that resolution, which is important to know ahead of time before you buy this, if you want to, if this is important to you. On the other side, with the older CINTIQ, you could only go up to 1080p, so it didn't really matter if you had DisplayPort or not. And quick specs here on the remote. As you can see here, the remote continuous operation up to 160 hours, so it'll last forever basically. You will probably not have to recharge that thing too often, even if you use it like a maniac. So that's pretty much it for the different specs on these two different CINTIQs. So we have also one last thing, which is the LCD technology, which is different now from the one before, which is probably also why everything is just a little bit better. So that will be it for the specifications. Okay, now before I go into a little bit more detail on how this thing performs, let's have a look at the setup that I have here, because I think this is by far the best setup in the world, and a lot of people I know won't be too happy about the fact that the CINTIQ, the new CINTIQ, don't come with the regular stand that it used to come with. So the the version, the 24 HD, for example, came with a big, massive, heavy stand. This does not come with that, so there's also the possibility to purchase that separately, which is great for those that want it, and as a result it makes the tablet itself a little bit less expensive than it would have been. And for people like me, who really don't give a crap about the stand because we have like an Ergotron arm, it's actually quite great. So yeah, let's look at it. So as you can see, it is mounted on the Ergotron arm. So at first when I saw the size of this tablet, I was quite worried that it probably would not support the weight, but the tablet itself is quite light, so actually, as you can see, it's supporting the weight pretty well. Yeah, right now it's floating, so it's working definitely. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see. So as you can see here, you can you can notice that my setup is not quite ideal. I would need an adapter for this, because right now it's only using like these two screws, and normally you would have you would be using the three. So it's a little bit off center, but I mean, even that holds pretty well. So yeah, it's doing the trick for now. But yeah, definitely know that you need a a 6 screws adapter for this thing. So other than that, let's have a quick look at the hardware. But if you want to have really good idea, or actually if you want to know exactly what comes in the box when you buy this thing, make sure you check the unboxing video right here. I actually showed everything in there. Let's begin with the obvious, what it looks like. So I said this thing is pretty big, as you can see, and what's great about it is that there's no buttons on the side. The old express keys have all disappeared, and instead they're on this little remote here that you can put on here. I'll show you guys how I use it with Photoshop a little bit later. Yeah, so it's actually great that there's nothing on the side, so you never bump into buttons. That was my big problem. There was like sliders on the back here to scroll in and out, or like to increase brush size or whatever people do with that. But I was always sort of touching it by mistake, and so I'm really glad that they got rid of all of that. And as a result, you have this nice one-piece glass surface, and the colors also actually quite nice out of the box, so I didn't have to do any calibration. I probably will do at some point just to make sure, but I mean, it looks beautiful right out of the box. So, and so the first thing that people might wonder is, okay, so if there's no buttons, why leave this sort of big edge on the side here, on both sides of the screen? And it's actually great that they do that, because if there was nothing, whenever you're about to draw like on the edge here, you really have nowhere to sort of lean against, and that would be quite annoying. So I'm glad they have a little bit of a sidebar here. And actually also, yeah, there's like metal bars on the side here, which allows the magnets of the remote to actually stick on. So there you go. It doesn't work on the top, doesn't work on the screen, only works on the sides. So that's that. Other than that, on the display itself, you have 3 little icons here. One is the settings, as you can see, so there's a little thing here. The other one is the keyboard, on-screen keyboard. Pretty similar to the Wacom Companion. What else? And the touch on and off button. So that's pretty much it for the display itself. Just as a reminder, there's 2 ports on each side. Here, 2 USB 3 ports, and then a little bit above here there's the mini display port jack. So if you want to use this tablet with your laptop or something like that. and of course power button at the very top. So the pen itself, nothing that special about it. This is just you know, the same old pen that they've had for quite a while now. Let's get to this. So I was actually quite excited about this. So I thought, you know, well, so far I've been using the keyboard whenever I wanna work in Photoshop, because the keyboard is really quick. You can have access to a lot of hotkeys all at once, and I've actually been using this, you know, this workflow for so long that it feels very natural. And that was the issue with the express keys before. They were sort of scattered all around the screen, so you had like a bunch on each side, you had stuff on the back, and there was not enough keys all in one location for it to be actually useful to work in a, you know, complex workflow. So very interesting little thing. This is actually the equivalent of 23 hotkeys that it can hold, and I say
23
because the little scroll thing here can act, you know, you can program it so that when you scroll up it does one thing, when you scroll down it does another thing. Power button at the bottom, and so there's 3 different modes. So each of these, you know, when I scroll up or down, it does something different. I'll show you guys a little bit later what my setup is, but it actually allowed me to do my regular workflow without having to rely on the keyboard much or at all. So yeah, very cool. The only bummer with this is that I think I got a defective piece, which is quite frustrating, especially for the price you pay for this thing. You know, this whole tablet thing is like $20 million. It's so expensive, and I get this stupid back cover here that doesn't clip in place, and I'm not sure you can see, but anyways, there's like a slight arc to it, so if you look at it completely straight, it's very subtle, but it's there. And what happens is that since there's a slight arc to it, the 2 magnets that are on the back here, they don't quite connect both at the same time when you clip it on the side here. So there's always one that's a little bit weaker, and now I've just clipped it back in place. It'll stay like that for a little bit, but it's not still. Like you can see it wobble a little bit on the desk here. That's really annoying. And once it's on the side here, and one of the magnets that doesn't quite like grab as much as the other one, so you have this stupid spinning thing. It happened a couple of times where I just come back home and the remote just fell on the table. So yeah, I'll have to return this. Pretty annoying, but if it wasn't for this, you know, malfunction, it would be quite great. So let's try to see this thing in action. Alright guys, so first of all what I want to show you is the touch functionalities and how terrible it is. So just gonna make sure that my touch is on, so off, on, and I'm using, so there's two different versions that you can do. You can use the Wacom Touch drivers basically, or the Windows Touch buttons, and they're both terrible because they don't allow us to customize them as much as we want, and they're very limiting. And I found an interesting problem also with just the basic ones. So the ones that artists would use, right? The most obvious ones would be to pinch to zoom in and out, or to use the 2 fingers to rotate, or what else? Pan also is interesting. It's 2 fingers and you move it around, and that actually works quite well, and that's the one that works the best really. So the problem with this is that the second that the Wacom is not your main display, your primary display, you can't use the rotate or zoom in and out at all, because what happens is that it considers that the other display is the center of rotation. So what happens is this, which is completely stupid. So you know, it's rotating considering the other screen is the point of rotation. If you want to double tap, it brings back, so that at least that works. I can pan with 2 fingers, but you know, fingers get kind of like sweaty a little bit, so I prefer to use my knuckles. That works a little bit better. So whenever you're drawing, you can use this. But the problem with touch is that you can't use both at the same time. So you can't zoom in and out or pan while you're drawing at the same time. So you can't do that with a keyboard, and you can do that with the remote. So there's really no point in using touch when you're working unless that actually works. It's just, whenever you're working and you try to pan or try to zoom in or out, it's just nothing happens. So you have to, you have to stop drawing, which is quite annoying because it interrupts the workflow, and that's what we want to try to avoid. So you start with the rotate, the problem with the rotate, and then you have the same thing with the pinch in and out. So it uses the other screen as the center of rotation, which is ridiculous. The only workaround for this is, instead of going to full screen mode like I am, or not full screen, but yeah, pretty much full screen, you can go in the windowed version here and maximize that, or just make it bigger, and then it considers this window, the center of this window, as the center of rotation. So that works. So thank God there's some sort of workaround for this. But I mean, I really don't like working in this mode, so I'm just not gonna use touch really, which is kind of silly because I paid an extra like $400 for this. So yeah. So that's pretty much it for touch. Bottom line, kind of useless right now. It has a great deal of potential, but the drivers are definitely not there yet. They have a long way to go still for it to actually be a good alternative or a good addition to a workflow. One more thing, the drivers, the Wacom drivers, as usual, not so reliable. I've had them crash once already in just 1 week, and there's always this problem where if you use the remote a lot and then you try to switch to the keyboard and then you try to switch to touch, sometimes one stops working, so you have to sort of reset it by like hitting a bunch of hotkeys on the keyboard, and after a while it understands that I'm doing something wrong. But yeah, there's definitely a bunch of problems, a bunch of bugs that they need to iron out a little bit more. Alright guys, now let's go over the actual setup that I have for this remote. So I've customized all the buttons on this. I've pretty much overwrote everything that was that came default with it, because the default buttons, the default hotkeys are kind of useless. They don't work too well and they don't offer that much flexibility. So yeah, everything is customized, and what's cool is that with this you can actually save your settings. So if you go here, you can whatever your setup is, so whatever your hotkey setup is, you can save it and back it up on their cloud service. So quite cool, because what happens is that these drivers tend to crash a lot and you have to reinstall it quite often. So it's nice that they have a way to save it, because yeah, you'll actually end up losing your stuff often if you don't do that. But that aside, so let's go over what I've assigned every button to, and let me do a short demo with this. So the middle one here, for the center keys, the middle one is the space button. So just space, I can click and drag here. This one, the one right above it, is the color picker. So I can use color picker like this. Right above brush tool, erase. So if I want to erase quickly or go back to brush, there you go. To increase and decrease brush size, I don't use the wheel here because it's just too much thumb movement, and I don't know, I don't really like it. It's not, the sensitivity of it is a little bit strange, so you never really get the size that you want unless you play with it for a while. So I've assigned instead increase brush size to this button and decrease brush size to this button, and by default, whenever you assign a hotkey, it assigns just like one tap. And what's great with the keyboard for increase and decrease brush size is that for the keyboard, for example, you can just press and hold, and it'll just do like a bunch of the same hotkey. So if you press and hold, the brush will shrink or grow and the press of just one button, so you just press and hold. In this case it doesn't work because it doesn't work, so if you press and hold, it just does the hotkey once. So that's quite a problem. So what I did instead, I've just assigned like 4 of the same hotkeys, so instead of having to press like a million times to increase my brush size, I just press a couple times and the brush grows like a lot. And then the button underneath is decrease brush size, so it decreases but not at the same rate. So it grows fast and then it shrinks a little bit slower. And then the lower buttons here, the lowest button I might end up changing, but right now it's just it's one hotkey, so it's to fine tune basically the size of my brush. So I shrink, it grows really fast, and then it shrinks a little bit slower. So yeah, I'll see. I mean, I'll have to use it a little bit more. This setup will probably end up changing a little bit as I get used to it. But right now, I think it works quite well. On the other side, I have. Oh, actually, I forgot about this one here at the top. This is my Lasso tool. So, and so that's it. Other than that, I have the select tool. So right now it's set to a square, so select a square, and right above that here I have delete. So let's say you wanna clear a selection. So let's say you have a layer and you have a bunch of stuff that's drawn on it. Let's change the color. So this, and you want to get rid of it. So I would go selection and delete. So pretty useful. The one right above it is the different layouts basically for the screen. So if I want to go full screen, it's basically F on the keyboard, the equivalent. So that's that, and then over that here on the other side is the undo button. So it's not undo like the regular undo, because what happens with the regular undo in Photoshop is that it undoes something and then it goes back to it. So it's only basically one undo. This is the equivalent of, what is it, Control Alt Z. Is that it? Yeah, Control Alt Z. So that's what it is. So it's I'm gonna do a bunch of brush strokes here. So like that, brush. So if I press this, it just goes back. So it's a proper undo. So quite cool. So that's it for the buttons. And then up top here, I have the control. Control key is set to this thing here. So you have a bunch of buttons around the wheel, right? So you have one button here, another one here, another one here, another one here, another one in the back. And then if you press this, the wheel changes. So the button on the functions on the wheel changes. The buttons on the sides, all around it, remain the same. But so yeah, I've set this thing to control. So let's say I make a selection with my Lasso tool, and I want to sort of move that. Click Control, then of course there's nothing selected. Click Control and move it around. And the ones on the sides. On the side, this one on the left here brings up the color balance, and the other one is I think is Shift. Yeah, I think I've assigned it to Shift. So yeah, there you go. And the top two here, Save As, and this one is just a quick save. So this one, let's say this is a new file, so I don't have anything, it's not saved as anything, so it'll ask me the same question. But let's say I save, it's a file I've been working on. This is quick save, and this is save as. So that's that. And if you want to know about the wheel, I've assigned something different to the wheel. So I think this one, I've assigned a different function. So if I scroll down, if I scroll up, it does something different. This is kind of tricky if you want to add only one hotkey to that, because if you scroll too much, it'll do the same hotkey a couple times. So let's see what I said for this. Oh, so this the first one I haven't changed yet. It's just the brush size still. So you can see. Maybe I'll get used to it. So that's why I'm giving it a chance to see if I get used to the scroll wheel. But I don't know. Like I really prefer the more analog feeling that the buttons give me, or that the keyboard gives me. This, I don't know, feels really strange. But yeah, so I've left that one as default. The next one is kind of hard to use, so I might end up changing this one too. But basically, it duplicates my selection onto another layer. So let's say I have a selection here. As you can see, I don't have any layer on the side here. I only have one. And if I scroll down real slow, it creates a new layer with my selection. So there you go. And if I scroll up, it merges it. So let's say you have, I'm gonna create a bunch of new selection. So down, 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 down. So now you can see I have a bunch of layers in here. And if I want to merge them all, I just scroll up, and everything is merged. So we'll see how that works out. This one, if I scroll down, it brings up the curves curves window, and if I scroll up, it's the hue and saturation window. So those are pretty much the hotkeys that I use most of the time whenever I work. So I will have to see how well this holds up on an actual painting. I will have a follow-up video using this and sort of this format so that you can see me actually working on it without the light this time, so you won't get the crazy glare that you're getting now. But yeah, so stay tuned for that video. So the last question that you might have is, who is this thing for, and who might benefit from having such a huge display, a huge CINTIQ? And I guess the best comparison I can make to explain the situation would be with cars. So let's say you have the equivalent would be like an Intros, which is the regular tablet, the pen tablet. That would be like a regular car, and this thing would be like a supercar. So both tablets can bring you from point A to point B, and within the city, if you respect the law, you won't make it any faster. Just because your car can go faster doesn't mean you should. And so basically, it just has more power. It's just more fun. Basically, it's just more excitement whenever you draw. So if you can afford to pay the super high price tag for that little extra that it brings, and if you want to actually use that as your own monitor, or if you need a second monitor, then it becomes a really good idea. If you want this kind of quality in a monitor. But other than that, if you're just trying to learn how to draw digitally, don't go that route. This is really for if you have extra money, because it's not going to help you get any better. Obviously, the regular tablets will do just as well, and will come at a fraction of the price. For those who want to have a little bit more fun and have the extra funds laying around, yeah, it is really, really nice. So I hope you guys found this review helpful. As usual, if you have any other question, don't hesitate to post them down in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them in case I haven't during this review. And stay tuned for the live painting demo using the Express Key remote. And that's pretty much it. So I'll see you guys next time.